Hello everyone, this is my first video of the year. Now this is just the podcast. I just thought I'd do a video version of the podcast instead of it just being audio and you're looking at some nice pictures. Because I thought I might as well just flick the switch and say hello in person. For everybody who's listening on iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud and things like that and Podomatic, you're used to just hearing my voice. But I'm actually going to show people on YouTube my face and Facebook and Instagram. Just to bring it back to, because I'm missing the Race Driver Coach Show. I'm missing it, so I thought I'd do my podcasts by actually doing video as well. The people who do like listening to the Race Driver Coach Show, that'll be back up probably late Feb, early March, that kind of thing. Just designing it now. But today, the podcast, and if you're not sure about the difference, Enzo, you've got your podcast, you've got the Race Driver Coach Show. They all seem similar, but not. Well, the podcast, as I call it, is really giving people the personal performance techniques that are taken from sport so they can use it in anything. You can use this in sport, you can use it in your relationships, in normal life, in anything, your career, in your business. And that's because the thing that I deal in, the thing that my expertise, if you like, sounds big-headed, I don't mean that, but what I specialize in is the human getting the best out of themselves. It's mental training taken from sport and giving it to anybody. Sounds like I'm doing an advert. I'm not. I'm just explaining what I'm doing. So the podcast is more for everybody. And obviously the Race Driver Coach Show is for race drivers. But what I notice is that people are listening to that in order to improve their lives. So I have to do both. Now the podcast is ongoing. It keeps going. But the Race Driver Coach Show is in seasons. And that's, as I say, starts in March-ish. Today, talking about focus. As you can tell by that intro, it's not a very focused video, the way I'm talking, but I want to speak about focus and how it is absolutely one of the most important ingredients if you're going to get what you want out of life. And if you reverse engineer, like you know I do all the time, you got your goal. You've got what you want in the long term. You've got what you want by the end of this year. You've got what you want by the end of this term or month or even the day. The goal is an outcome result, right? It's an outcome or a result. It's external. Bring it back down to, if I'm to achieve that goal, what does it mean that I've got to be like? How have I got to show up? What's my mindset got to be like? How do I approach things? How do I tackle challenges? It all comes down to you as a person, as you know. But I'm still not seeing enough people pay enough attention to the mind, to making sure that your mind is designed in a way that allows you to get that external goal. We seem to keep the same habits, operate the same way, and want something that those habits and the way we operate won't allow to come into fruition. It's impossible. For example, if you say, right, I've got a monetary goal. I want to earn X amount by the time this year's over. But you don't have the mindset that allows you to graft and work on that each day. You don't have the mindset that allows you to have confidence, to go and talk to people, to sell them whatever it is that you're selling. You don't have the confidence to go. You don't have the mojo, the get up and go. Then that goal is not going to come. If you're operating in a certain way that doesn't allow you to act, and that them actions obviously add up to the goal, then it's not going to happen. And it sounds so stupidly obvious. Ends, I know this. Fine. The first thing is knowing. But what I'm seeing is a lot of people know this stuff, but they're not executing. They're not following through on it. They're not making sure that they show up every day. They're not making sure that they see things in a way that helps them rather than sets them back or holds them back. Or they've got no self-belief, so they're not going to ask with conviction when they're trying to sell something. So I just want to put this message out to remind you that it's all down to your mindset. It's all down to how you focus the mind, because what you're focusing on is massively important. It's one of the biggest ingredients for you to create emotion, the kind of emotion you want. If you want to feel confident, but you're focusing on your shortcomings, you're focusing on the kind of things that make you believe that you're not deserving of it, or people, your past doesn't really show it, and you're shining the torch on all these areas that bring your mindset down, then no matter how much you fake it, you're not going to be confident. If you want to be motivated, but you're focusing on all the things you've got to do in order to get the job done and how overwhelming that is, you're not going to be motivated. So where your focus goes, the energy flows. If you're focusing on something that's holding you back, then it's going to hold you back. You're going to have a ball and chain on you. So just for today, just for this week, start to pay attention what you're actually thinking, what you're thinking about, and what you're focusing on. And if you could have a mental diary of, you get to a situation where you think, I've got to show up, I've got to do something, right? I've got to be something different. I'm in that environment now. I've got to go and speak to that person. I've got to pick up the phone and talk to them. But you don't feel confident, just take the time to say, okay, how have I created that lack of confidence, that feeling? What is it I'm focusing on? What am I thinking? Why am I manifesting that kind of emotion? I'm creating my emotions. You've got to know that. You are. And it's by what you're focusing on, by what you're thinking. You're creating this by having thoughts, and then the emotion pops out. If you want to change that emotion, you change the thoughts on what you're focusing on. So really be conscious of this. And then all of a sudden, if you're feeling motivated, if you actually crushed it that day and you made all these calls and sales and you're like, wow, why was I so motivated and confident? Answer that question. Why were you? What were you thinking? What were you focusing on? Where was the mind at? Because you've just unlocked how to do this. And if you do that again tomorrow, you'll crush it again. But if you allow yourself to start to think about other things, because you are what you think, not just what you eat, but what you think. That is your environment and what you create. These are projectors, these eyes are projectors, right? They're not just taking in information, they're taking it in, they're spinning it around, they're giving it a meaning, translating it a certain way, and then they're seeing that as their world. That's what your mind is doing in a very brief way. And if you're taking in information from the outside, translating it in a way that's not helping you, it's setting up the rules of your matrix that you live in a way that's impossible for you to get the most out of yourself, guess what? You're not going to get the most out of yourself. So just for this video, just to keep it simple, because as usual, I've just waffled. I've just gone on about things. But to keep this really on something that's going to help you this coming week, really understand what you're thinking about as a ritual, as a habit. What are the kind of thoughts I'm having over and over again? And how are they affecting me? What emotions are they giving me? And if there's a certain time that you've had an emotion you're not really proud of, you've got a bit depressed, what is it I'm thinking of? How did I create that emotion? And even though we can say that emotions are chemical and kind of natural and automatic sometimes, how about having a new belief? Because we believe in crazy things in order to get more out of ourselves. That's another video for later on. But how about having a belief that I'm in control of my emotions? Just for today, I'm going to see if this works. I'm in control of my emotions through how I set things up, through how I hold my body and what I think about. Now, if I think about something different, in a positive way, in a proactive way that puts me back in control, and I have a body that says it and it gets excited about it, the emotions come in. So take control of what you're thinking about. It is a game changer. There's plenty of game changers that I've talked about, but this is one of them. This week, start to notice, like even if you've got like a diary of thoughts that you have, most common ones, when I was in this emotion, I was thinking this. When I was in this emotion, I was thinking this. Start to learn about yourself. Because where you're focusing, that mental torch, what you're focusing it on is how you feel a lot of the time. Give it a go. Follow through with this. Don't just say it's something that you want to do and maybe I'll do it another day. Do it now. What emotion do I want to create? Focus on what you need to get there. Speak to you next time.